Hi, and welcome to the very end of week 6 of English 1302. I want to take a few moments and just kind of review with you some of the salient details about the research paper and then take a quick look ahead at the reading assignments for week 7. Okay, so you got the assignment for the R2 project, and your outline is due March 1st. Let me remind you that your outline needs to look very similar to the sample. That's just formatting. That's just the way it looks on the page. The only thing different between this and the previous one is the previous one had the thesis and the topic sentences. This one has thesis, topic sentences, and a supporting quote. So you need to go ahead and do a little bit of research, um, both by reading the story, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, which is your primary source, and then go to Google Scholar, google.com/scholar, and find one secondary source that either talks about your short story or talks about your vocabulary word. You can find lots and lots of sources out there that talk about setting or tone or antagonist or foreshadowing or irony. Irony is always a big one. But yeah, so and just find yourself some quotes that support the topic sentence and make sure the topic sentence clearly supports the main idea. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, in the sample paper, it says in the short story Rose for Emily, irony can be used to understand the sadness a little better. All right, so we know the name of the short story, Rose for Emily. Yours, of course, would be The Lottery. And we know which element's being used, irony, and that's right there in the thesis. Then the topic sentences say irony is used to show how Miss Emily's father, da 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 da. Irony shows the depth of Miss Emily's da da da. Irony helps reader understand Miss Emily's desperate need, yada yada yada. All right. So each topic sentence clearly, using the same words, refers back to the main idea in the thesis, and the thesis clearly answers the research question. So I encourage you, when you write your thesis for the outline, just say something like, in the short story The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, setting can help the reader understand the story better, or irony can help the reader, or whatever tool that you choose. Now, the other thing is you really need to learn this list of words. All right, there are 18 of them, front and back, and uh, if you don't know these, it's going to be much harder to do the paper, because even when you look them up, if you look up irony, it's going to talk about irony, but it's going to talk about irony assuming that you already know what it is. So be sure you know what a flat character is, what a symbol is, what a theme is, what irony is. Theme, by the way, is good for any story. All stories have themes. An unreliable narrator, whichever one of those you choose, be sure you know what it is. You also need to know the forms of literary criticism. We don't refer to them very often, but they are very helpful. Those are more broad categories, and we tend to focus just on formalism, and these, of course, are the parts or the elements of formalism. Anyway, I look forward to reading your outlines due March the 1st before 11:55 p.m. If you want to shoot me a rough draft of your outline and send it to me as an attachment, I'll be more than happy to make comments on it, especially if you'll send it in the form of yes, no question. Mr. Fly, is this a good thesis? Mr. Fly, does this topic sentence clearly support my main idea? Man, those I can answer like, while I'm driving down the road eating a cheeseburger. I can just answer those questions really quick, get the answers back to you, and help you expeditiously. If you contact me in some other way, like Blackboard Messenger or something like that, it's going to take a little bit longer. I do try to answer all my questions within 24 hours, excepting weekends. Of course, my weekends tend to get very busy. If you contact me anytime after lunch on Friday, it's going to be Monday before you hear back, which is kind of ironic, unexpected, because most of your assignments are due Sunday night. So if you're waiting until the Friday afternoon or Saturday or Sunday to work on your assignments, it's going to be hard to get quick response to your questions. But you guys wouldn't do that anyway, so there's no problem. All right, so next week we got 3 more exciting short stories, week 7. I think you'll really like the first one. It's called A&P by John Updike, and it's considered a coming of age story. Now, coming of age is when a young person grows up. Some cultures have a ceremony like the quinceanera or the bar mitzvah or the bat mitzvah. Native Americans have different rituals, different traditions, but it just recognizes the fact that each of us has to become a mature adult at some point. In the short story, Sammy is 19 years old, which is, of course, delayed adolescence, but he grows up just on the spot. When he steps out of the door of the supermarket, he instantly becomes an adult. And that's not the way it works in real life. Of course, in real life, maturing is a process that takes place over several years with hundreds, maybe thousands of small decisions or small revelations, different epiphanies. But in literature, we tend to condense all that and we make it happen just all at once. And it's really kind of interesting to read about. Maybe you'll see a little bit of yourself in here. Um, if you're not familiar with the term rubbernecking, where young men will turn their heads to watch an attractive young lady walk by, you'll know what this is. Also, some students have questions about the story because they say, well, what about it takes place in a supermarket set on a beach town, a town which is located on the beach. What about the old policy of no shoes, no shirt, no service? Because these girls don't have any of those. And it happened before. This 1960s wild and lustful era. So anyway, then of course the last one is the jewelry, another fascinating story by a guy named Guy de Maupassant, obviously French, and he gives us a very interesting contradiction with no clear resolution. There's no good way to explain the ending of this story. So we use this story to analyze deconstruction. Deconstruction, you remember, is one of our tools for understanding, one of our forms of literary criticism, and it helps us to recognize that not only do short stories have contradictory endings, life also is full of contradictions, and two people can understand and explain the story differently, and both of them can still be right. So, yeah, the jewelry, nice little short story about a woman who really loves cheap jewelry, fake jewelry. And I bet you enjoy that one. The big one, of course, is by Ursula K. Le Guin, and it's called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. Omelas is simply Salem, Oregon, or Salem O, spelled backwards, but it is a fictional utopia. Utopia is a perfect place, a perfect society, and she goes to a lot of details to describe how this place is perfect. The people have perfect health, the crops are perfect, the weather is perfect, the celebrations are perfect. If you need drugs to have a perfect society, she says, well, there's a drug you can use with no after effects. It's not addictive at all, and you don't have hangovers or anything bad afterwards. If you need sex, then this is available. And she just goes on and on and on, trying to create for you what an ideal, perfect society would be like, with one caveat. And of course, you have to read that part carefully and then explain to yourself, would you be one of the ones who walk away from Omelas? And if you did walk away from Omelas, from this perfect world, this perfect utopia, where would you go? You'd go someplace like Lubbock, Texas, which is far from a utopia. So why would you choose a place like Lubbock, Texas over Omelas if you were a character in the story? All right, so 3 short stories. I do encourage you as you read the stories to take notes on them at the very least. At the very least, if you're looking for the easy way to get through this, print them out and highlight them. I've got a whole cupful of highlighters here in my desk, and we use them in class all the time. And so, yeah, if you're not going to sit there and take notes, at least highlight them. Same thing on the information I post, the PowerPoints and the handouts and stuff like that. Take notes on those. Just as you're looking on your screen, just have a pen and paper there or a notebook and scribble down what you think are the most important ideas. Why? Because it's effective. Studies and experts and research has shown us time and time again that this is the best way to learn something. And I want you to learn the material, learn the information, and then prove to me that you've learned it by taking a test. Welcome to college. Okay, so we got the research paper, the R2 assignment. We've got the vocabulary words. We've got the short stories. and you've got life and a busy weekend ahead. I hope you have a good and safe weekend. Enjoy the wind, and I'll meet you back here on Monday.